Lauren, my love, welcome to 50 Shades of Gold with your incredible masterclass on natural birth control. I'm so happy you're here.
Me too.
So, a little introduction to get us started. Lauren is a birth keeper, a medicine woman, a jungle mama of two beautiful girls living here in Costa Rica, actually just up the mountain here from me. She has taught her keys to natural birth control at festivals, at community workshops, women's circles, to midwives, to teenage girls all around the world. And a few years ago, by truly magical synchronicity, she discovered a natural birth control cream created by a Holocaust survivor and a Harvard scientist, Dr. Francois Ferrin. Am I saying that right?
Dr. Francois Farron. Yeah.
Dr. Francois, yes. And you began to share this truly life-changing resource. And after years of working with the cream, when this mentor of yours, this amazing woman, trusted you enough, she passed the formula to you at 99 years old. I mean, this story is
Yeah.
just so remarkable. And if our sisters want to hear this story deeper, I invite everyone to click on the link below. It's a podcast episode that Lauren and I recorded in this very tub where I am, where she dives deeply into that like truly remarkable story. So now this cream is sold internationally, and we're going to get into that. But it's made right here in Costa Rica. And of course, as every good story needs these magical details, your partner happens to be a brilliant chemist. And so together you began producing and sharing this cream. Yeah?
Yep. That's the
Wow.
story.
Wow, wow, wow. So, Lauren, what are we going to learn today?
Today, we're going to learn how to practice natural birth control that's actually very highly effective. And we're going to learn how to do it the easy way so that it can be relevant for how we live in our real life. So it's thousands of years of traditional use of plants that women have been passing down. It's ancient Taoist wisdom. It's the incredible science that women have been bringing forward in these last couple decades. Um, and it's all distilled to make it really easy and practical for our real life and to integrate this to where we come into a deeper harmony with our fertility, with our womb space, with our sexuality, with our life, and we come into the confidence to know that we're very highly affected, very highly protected, no matter what happens.
I love it. I'm taking notes. Let's go.
So yeah, thank you for joining us. This is an invitation to completely transform the way you see your fertility and the way you take care of your birth control needs. So the way I like to look at a natural birth control practice is we have products you can use and it can be that simple. But I think the true empowerment comes when we include our whole being. So I really believe that the foundation to a natural birth control practice is mental and spiritual clarity. And this is because to conceive a being in our multidimensional womb portal, it's actually quite a mystery. And we're dealing with something that's in a different dimension and that can come to this dimension, right? Like life itself. And so when we become clear with ourselves, when we sit with ourselves and ask ourselves, do we want to have a baby? What would our ideal, timing of having a family be? Do we ever want to have a baby? These are important things because so many of us are being put on pills or IUDs or whatever at 16, and then we're just on it forever, and we are disconnected by this to where we don't even sit with ourselves and realize maybe I do want a baby. Maybe I'm still young, but maybe my being actually does want a baby. Or maybe our partners want a baby, and that's something we should know about if we're thinking we're doing everything to prevent pregnancy and their heart, soul, body is calling in a child. This can be a problem in a natural birth control practice. So it's so good just to get your journal, be in nature, ask yourself these questions and get really clear within, and then have this conversation with your partner. Like, so many times it feels hard to be vulnerable. But I find that this vulnerability, especially around our fertility with the person we're making love with, it's a container for love, this trust, this vulnerability. And this is an invitation when you're working with your fertility, when you're working with natural tools, it's an invitation to work together. It's an invitation to build trust, to build communication. So this is at the foundation of the practice. And when you come into this clarity, I really think it's incredibly powerful to declare things out loud, because our words are always creating and they hold the power of life and death. So when I became clear, I said something like, my womb space is not open for any beings to incarnate at this time. you know if you want to come be with our family, now is not the time. You will not be welcome here. You will be made to leave, and we'll let you know when you're welcome to come. And you can say whatever you want, but I do think it's powerful to say out loud, or say it out loud with your partner. And this is the beginning of using your authority, of using your alignment with yourself and your authority to create your reality. Okay, I promise the rest is a little bit more scientific, but I do think that this is important. So from there, we come into an understanding of fertility awareness. So fertility awareness methods are scientifically proven methods of birth control. Now, the thing that I have with this is that we're told this is birth control, but then we're being asked to abstain when we're fertile or use other methods. So the fertility awareness method, if you abstain during your fertile time, is over 99% effective. As soon as you introduce another method during your fertile time, the whole method becomes as effective as this method. So for example, condoms, which we're told over and over again, this is how we stay safe, stay safe. Not only are these toxic and carcinogenic, if you didn't know, but they're only 87% effective with general use, which means in real life. So you ideally want something that's more effective than 87%. So we'll get into all of that, but that's something to be aware of. So what I'm going to share with you is, one, how to read your body within a fertility awareness mindset. And you can use this as part of your birth control practice, or you can just use it to harmonize with your cycle. We have a lot of choices of how you want to tailor make how you go about your natural birth control. But we'll go into the different signs, and then I will share with you how you can use this for birth control and how you can simplify it to make it really easy if you want. Because I've been doing this for 11 years, and I have always used a simplified version. There is the symptothermal method, where we're using our cervical position, the quality of our cervix, and also our cervical mucus, and also our basal body temperature. So we're going to get into understanding these three signs. But then there is another fertility awareness method called the Billings method. And this is a much simpler method that only looks at cervical fluid. So I like to combine these a little bit. I'm going to show you exactly how, but let's get into it. So when you begin fertility awareness, the first step is to get to know your body. So the way we do this is that every day you're going to make a new habit of, with clean hands, checking inside your yoni when you go to the bathroom. You can do it once a day. I like to do it a couple times just to really be in touch with it. And it's so simple that it becomes second nature. You can do it anywhere. It doesn't matter if you're traveling or whatever. So when we put our finger inside, we're looking for a couple things. First of all, we're looking to see what is our cervical mucus. So every woman actually has like a pattern of cervical mucus, and you can get to know yours. In fertility awareness, we look at your cycle like we're starting with the bleed. So we're starting with menstruation. Then after the bleed, you're putting your finger inside yourself, and you will typically have some dry days. So a dry day looks like if you were to put your finger in your mouth, like it's a damp environment, your yoni, but there's nothing there that we could rub between our fingers. So this is considered a dry day. Dry days are considered to be infertile because sperm can't live for very long in a dry yoni environment because it's too acidic. It will kill it. Now, as we're approaching ovulation, our body begins to build up estrogen. And this causes us to have cervical mucus patterns. So from after our dry days, we'll often see like a lotiony, creamy discharge. You could see a sticky, gummy discharge. It generally becomes progressively more watery. until around ovulation, you're going to see very watery discharge. It's going to be stretchy. It often will look like the clear part of an egg. So when we have a lot of this, we know that we're really close to ovulation. And then we'll have a day where it's like, even when you wipe, you're super wet. It's hard to miss once you get to know what you're looking for. But then the next day you'll totally dry up. So we're back to this, nothing's there. So from the time that we dry up, we're looking to be dry for 4 consecutive days. And after this, on the night of the 4th day, we are free and clear for the rest of the month, generally. So we're looking for this, and this is what's called your fertile window. So we're opening our fertile window with the first site of cervical mucus. Fertility awareness, the methods teach that if it's sticky or gummy, it's like medium fertile, but I don't want to mess around with that. If I have any cervical mucus at all, I'm going to use some type of birth control. So we're looking at that. And the reason why our fluid is becoming more and more watery is because the cervical mucus is actually creating a home for the sperm to live in and be able to survive until the eggs release. But it's also creating literal highways within this fluid that the sperm can travel through to go up to the fallopian tubes to reach an egg and fertilize it. So like the egg isn't fertilized in the vagina. It's fertilized way up in the fallopian tubes. There's quite a journey. So this is what we're working with. Now, our cervix is another powerful oracle within our bodies. So when we're putting our finger inside of us, we're also getting to know and check our cervix. So if you're not familiar with your cervix, when you put your finger inside, there'll be kind of like a nub at the back of your vagina. And this is our cervix. This is the door to our womb. This is what the babies come through. If you haven't had a baby, your cervix will feel like it has just a little slit on it. And if you have, it'll be like you can poke your finger in there a little bit. So throughout the month, our cervix changes dramatically. And when I first started doing this 11 years ago, after I did it for a couple months, I got super angry because I'm like, these signs are like night and day. It's not ambiguous. It's not something you can really confuse too much. You just have to pay attention to it. So our cervix goes from around menstruation being low in our yoni, which means it's easy to touch when you put your finger in, you don't have to reach too hard. So it goes from being low, firm, like if you were to touch the tip of your nose, it would be kind of firm, closed, so you feel the slit or you feel just the slight hole, and dry. Dry meaning you don't have cervical mucus on it. So it goes from this kind of a cervix, and through the month, it transforms completely. So as we're approaching our ovulation, our cervix is going farther and farther up inside of us. It's getting soft, like if you were to touch your lips. It's getting open. So if you've had a baby, you can kind of put your finger really in there. And if you haven't, it becomes the where you could just poke it a little bit. And it becomes wet. So you're getting mucus that you can put between your fingers when you touch it. So this is because the cervix, the door to our womb, is literally opening up and becoming softer to allow the sperm to pass through it. So when you understand the why of this, you understand what your body's doing. It's making sense, you know? So these are the first 2 signs we're looking at with fertility awareness. And the third sign is what's called basal body temperature. So your basal body temperature is the only scientifically proved crystal clear sign that you ovulated. Okay, why is this important? Because some months you might not ovulate. If you're traveling a lot, if you are sick, if you're around other women, you can skip ovulation for many reasons if you're premenopausal. And our temperature is letting us know you for sure ovulated last month, so you're good for a while this month. This is what it's really helpful for. And it's also really helpful for accurately closing our fertile window. So that means when we close our fertile window, that means we know that we're no longer fertile until our next period, until our next cycle, and we can party. We don't have to use anything at all. So this is exciting when you learn how to close your fertile window because you know it's time to party. It's awesome. So when we check our basal body temperature, this is a whole nother habit to adapt, which for me has always been really challenging to be consistent with, which is why I'm going to teach you a little bit easier way if you want to try that. But what you do is you make sure you slept at least 3-4 hours before you take your temperature. You want to take it at the same time every morning. You need to do it before you get on your phone, before you get out of bed, before you greet the morning, and just you do it right away. And then you need to record it. all of these signs you need to record, because you can think I'm going to remember where I was 4 days ago, but you're not. And if you remember incorrectly, you can get pregnant. So we're putting this in an app. There are some really good apps out there. I've always used Kindara. Our company, Wise Women's Choice, is releasing an app coming up. So it's going to be free, and it's going to help us to read the signs without having to interpret them all yourself. So that will be helpful. But there are great apps out there that will let you track these signs. And, a lot of us are on our phone in the bathroom anyways. So you just check it, put it right in, and you have your information. So you're checking it, you're putting it in every day, and you are also going to see a pattern with this. So during menstruation, your temperature can often be higher. You don't have to temp when you're bleeding. But as soon as you're not, you start taking your temperature, same time every day, charting it, and it's going to be around the same. And then at some point it will spike. So when it spikes, it'll be like maybe 0.3 of a degree in Fahrenheit. In Celsius, I'm not quite sure actually. But you'll see a noticeable spike from this lower pattern. It goes up. And then if we were to chart on paper, we would draw a line between these two, between the low and the high, and that would be called our cover line. So what we're looking for is for our temperature to stay up, to stay high. And if you can think of a chart, it would be above this line for 3 consecutive days. So if your temperature were to go right back down the next day and then spike again, you start the count again. You start your 3-day count all over again. And you have to have these 3 days in a row. Because the night of the 3rd day of the raised temperature, you're closing your fertile window. So we're looking at these two signs, and we're going on the most conservative sign. And the reason why we're waiting some days after the temperature shift, which is showing you ovulated, and some days after your cervical fluid dries up, which is also showing you that you ovulated, is because you can actually release more than one egg. And then, it's obviously rare, but it also obviously happens because this is the case of twins and triplets. So when an egg's released, it's only viable for 24 hours and then it disintegrates. But if you were to release 2 eggs, then you have this extended window. So these extra days are to give extra care, just to keep the method highly effective. As you get to know your body more, as you get to know the other tools more, you can play with it more, but you have to understand it first. So when you're practicing fertility awareness, do not listen to this class and start relying on it right away. You need to check your signs and track them for like 3 months, I would say at least. So you track it for 3 months and you look at your data and you make sure you can interpret it clearly. You make sure you have it crystal clear before you rely on this for birth control, because if not, this is how you get pregnant. But after a few months, you will get the hang of it. You will see that it's like night and day what's going on with your body, and you will be able to know with complete clarity when you're fertile and when you're not. So okay, with this method, you're charting your signs. And then how do we know? How do we know what's going on? We have 4 simple rules with the symptothermal method of fertility awareness. The first rule is the first 5-day rule. And this means that you are safe for unprotected intercourse for the first 5 days of your period. So this only counts if you have a cycle that's longer than 25 days. If you have a really short cycle, you only get the first 3 days free. After that, you can absolutely get pregnant on your period. You will not ovulate on your period. However, you can technically have sperm inside you and then skip some dry days. Your body's releasing cervical mucus for whatever reason, and that sperm inside you can live for up to 5 days. And if you had an early ovulation, you can get pregnant. This happened to me with my first daughter, and it was because I didn't follow the rules. So day 6, I was like a super light bleed and I thought I could get away with it. And guess what? We didn't. And it's the best thing that ever happened to me. But you cannot practice fertility awareness loosely and not follow the rules and then blame the method. So all of these rules are going to be in a review. This entire class, I'm going to have the important parts in a review for you, which we'll link down below. So you get your first 5 days or your first 3 days. And this rule is only good, they say, if you had your temperature spike the month before, because that lets you know that you actually ovulated. Because if you didn't ovulate, that would up your chances of ovulating early and thus getting pregnant a lot easier this way. So I hope that makes sense. So that's our first rule. Our second rule is our dry day rule. So between your period approaching ovulation, every day you are dry and you don't have any mucus, you're safe for intercourse after 6 p.m. So this rule is interesting to me that they always teach after 6 p.m. This is the official teaching. I would also always, if you're leading up to ovulation, I like to be extra careful. You can always check yourself right before sex. You just put your finger inside. So if your cervix is low and closed and dry and firm, you're good to go. The door is literally not open for a pregnancy. There's nothing that the sperm can live in to survive for more than a few hours. So this is kind of a hack for the entire method. If your cervix is low and closed and firm like your nose and dry, you are safe. This is how we check. So if you checked in the morning and you were dry and you want to get laid in the afternoon, just stick your finger inside and see how you're doing. Or, you can use some other form of protection. So that's the second rule. The third rule is our peak day rule. So the day when you wipe and you're super wet and there's this stretchy egg white fluid, and the next day it dries up, that day was your peak day. So the only way we know what our peak day was is by the drying up the next day. So this is our peak day, and then we're counting 4 dry days after that. So again, like I said, on the night of the 4th dry day, that's closing your fertile window. And you're looking for your temperature as well to see which one's more conservative, as in which one's taking longer to finish. And when these are finished, that's when you can party. That's when you don't have to use protection again until the next cycle. So yes, and so these are the rules. Now I'm spacing a second. We have the first 5-day rule, the temperature shift, the peak day, and there's one more. I will put them all in the guide because I really am spacing out right now, you guys. But I've been doing this so long, I'm just relying on my cervix and the fluid all this time. If you're spotting during the month, that's considered fertile also. If you spot during ovulation, that's some kind of fluid that also the sperm can live inside of. So all these rules, along with the signs and how to read them with the method, are in the guide. So from there, what do we do when we are fertile? What do we do when we are during this window? Because it's very important, because this is the time we can actually get pregnant. So the first tool we're going to talk about is neem oil. Neem oil is amazing because you can get it fully organic. You can just buy a tincture, and you're getting a tincture bottle of it's not a tincture, but it's in a tincture bottle, and it's of the pressed seeds. So this is one of the most powerful spermicides on the planet. It's killing 100% of the sperm within like 20 to 30 seconds, and it's been used for thousands of years. So with your tincture bottle, when you have a tincture bottle, you're always, every time you use a tincture, you get a milliliter of whatever it is out. So the best way to use neem oil, the safest way, is to put it in before penetration. So you can get in an interesting position. You can put a full dropper, your full milliliter of the oil inside of you. And it's also an excellent lubrication. It feels nice, it's agreeable to the yoni, and it has some incredible added benefits because it's antifungal, antibacterial, antiviral, and there have been studies, and there have been multiple studies showing how it's killing HIV, how it's killing herpes, how it's killing funguses and bacteria, so like chlamydia. So there's incredible potential for neem oil to actually be the true way to stay safe, instead of like using condoms. So I encourage you to check out those studies and do a little Googling for yourself, but the research is out there, and it's profound. So you put it inside, and that's your spermicide. So the main issue with neem oil is that it has a really strong smell. So some people I know can get down with it. Like I have some hippie friends who are like, yeah, we just pretend we're making love with nature. And I'm like, that's cool for you guys. But we've been using it for years, and we like really didn't like it. So I would always put it right after, when I was fertile, pairing that with my partner practicing semen retention or pulling out during this time. So why did I even put any if we were pulling out, if we were doing semen retention? Because you can have pre-cum there with thousands of sperm in it. You could have spilled a drop with thousands of sperm in it. It's better to be safe than sorry. So we would always put it afterwards. And a lot of people that are teaching online about this stuff say you can put it afterwards. However, I know 2 women in my community, because everybody comes to me with this stuff, who have gotten pregnant doing that just in the last year. So I don't recommend that anymore. Put it in first. You could also use a little piece of a sea sponge. You get a sea sponge and you cut it, and you can soak it in the neem oil and put it over your cervix if you wish. People have been doing that forever. It's just, can you take the smell, or is it a huge mood killer? Because for me, it's like a huge mood killer. So, which brings me to our next tool, which after using neem oil paired with semen retention for years, I discovered this cream. And it used to be called Smart Women's Choice. We've now rebranded it as Wise Women's Choice. It's the cream Katya was talking about that we're producing here in Costa Rica. So I discovered this cream years ago and was elated because it has no smell. It also has no hormones or spermicides. Most spermicides have what's called non-oxyl 9 in them, and this is actually a very toxic chemical that we're putting in our sacred space, and it's been shown to irritate the tissues, which makes us more predisposed to contracting an STD. So this is crazy because, when I was being super over careful in my 20s, using pills and condoms and everything, I would always get spermicide on there because that was even more protection. Little did I know it was making me more susceptible to contracting a disease. It's crazy, and everybody should know that. So anyway, this cream has no spermicide in it, no hormones. And the most profound thing is that it has no harmful side effects. So in less than 2% of our users, people experience irritation, in which case we send them some more to see if it would work, and then we refund them. And it's happened very few times amongst hundreds and hundreds of users. So this cream is made from all pure plant extracts and organic minerals. It's now a globally patented formula that came originally from Dr. Francois, who passed it to me. And then my husband has been refining it because the Smart Woman's Choice cream was irritating way too many of my clients. And so now it feels like just an extra bit of lubrication. The way you use this cream is you put just a little bit on your finger and you put it inside of you right before the penetration. And if you're doing anything that would cause it to come out, like pulling out and then penetrating again, or if the woman were to release tons of fluid, or if you're making love for many hours, you're going to want to reapply. Because the only key to this cream's effectiveness is its presence in the vagina at the time of the male ejaculation. So what is it doing? This cream, though it's not a spermicide technically, it's stopping the sperm motility. So on the website, you see under a microscope how it immobilizes 100% of the sperm. And what that means is that, the sperm's in your vagina and it can no longer leave your vagina because it can't swim. So the egg's all the way up here in the fallopian tubes and it can't leave to swim through the cervix and up there to fertilize it. So this cream has been over 99% effective in tens of thousands of users in real life data. It was 100% effective in the case study led by Dr. Francois many years ago. And I've just been using it for years, as of all my friends. I don't know, you want to share your experience with it that you shared with me at the women's circle the other day, Katya?
People will just have to listen to Dirty Gold because we talked about all of that. So go listen to our conversation. Yes, I absolutely love the cream. It's a godsend, which is why I want to scream and shout from the rooftops that every woman needs to know about this and tell all of her sisters. So yes, go listen to our Dirty Gold conversation.
Yeah, it's juicy. So anyway, you can throw this tube of cream in your bag with you to go on dates. Like, it's amazing. And you just rinse it out with water afterwards because your vaginal microbiome is a delicate space. And even though it's all natural, you just want to go back to your own nature afterwards. So this is an incredible option. And what I love about it is it let me use it before sex instead of the neem, which was killing the mood for me. And that gave me more peace of mind. And so the awesome thing about having neem oil and having this cream is that if you're doing fertility awareness and you travel in the month and you forget, or you get busy, or you stop tracking, or whatever, you can always just use one of these tools and it will work for you. So it's not like if you get off during the month, your whole month is messed up and you don't know what you can do and you have to use a condom for the whole time. Like, you don't. You don't even need to track your fertility. You can just use one of these tools all month long if you prefer. I prefer knowing my body because it helps me to harmonize with where I'm at with my work, with my children, with my art, with everything, and to make space to really begin to honor my moon time, to honor right before my moon time when I want to rest, to honor when I want to have my sex dates, all of it. So it's revolutionary tracking your fertility, but We don't have to be paranoid, like, what if we mess up? What if we mess up? Because we have these tools to rely on. So these are some incredible tools. Another incredible tool, which has absolutely changed my life, is the masculine element of all of this. So, I think it's so funny that for most of my life, until I was probably around late 20s, I didn't know that women could ejaculate. And I also didn't know that men could not ejaculate and still orgasm. And it's like, these are the most important things in the world. So, okay, your partner, and you probably already know this, but your partner can learn how to retain their semen. And this is an ancient tantric practice. Um, they say that, the essence of life is held in the semen. So when men are ejaculating all the time, they're pouring out their life force. So much energy is being released from this. So when the man learns how to retain his semen, he is retaining his life force. And lovemaking can become an entirely different game where we're not just racing for the 0 to 10 orgasm, fall asleep. You can go in waves and cultivate this pleasure and go for way longer than most of us have been used to. And this will build up this electrical charge, this, life force charge that we're creating between us when we're making love. But the way we use this in birth control is that our partner, just like we're cultivating understanding our fertility, they can cultivate their bodily awareness. And I'm going to give you some simple tools for how they can do this that you can share with them, but it can be really simple. Obviously, pulling out's always been a thing, but pulling out, can also be really not effective. Semen retention is just a higher level of pulling out, and it's a higher level of bodily awareness for the man. And it will bring you a higher level of sexual experience, 100%. So if you are new to this, if your partner is new to this, there is actually a point on the perineum between like the balls and the butt that you can press up on with 2 fingers quite firmly. He's going to have to get to know his body and feel where that point is for him. But they can practice while they're self-pleasuring. And then when they feel an ejaculation coming on, they can press quite firmly with these 2 fingers, and that will stop the ejaculation. So this is an excellent way to begin the practice, because then they start to feel like, what does that feel like to not ejaculate? What are these muscles that I'm working with? This is like just the beginning of them familiarizing themselves with the feeling. So from you can begin to work with the breath, and you can be the woman, you can be a big part of working with the breath with your partner, because we see our partners becoming more and more aroused and getting close. We can be with them eye to eye and breathing deep, encouraging them to breathe. We can grab their hair to take them out of this lower chakra center to bring the energy up here. This is something I love to do for women in birth too. You pull the hair and the energy moves up quite fast. So when the man is working with the breath, and also when we're working with the breath while we're lovemaking, we're taking deep breaths in and we're imagining the energy moving up through our spine. And you can kind of look to your third eye if you like and imagine swirling the energy around in your brain. And then we have what's called the microcosmic orbit. So you can work with this. It's an energetic orbit within our bodies that goes up through the spine, down through the head. You connect it through putting your tongue on the roof of your mouth. And then to bring the energy back down and circulate it, you're going to smile to what the Taoists call your lower dantian. So your lower dantian is just right under your belly button, a few fingers under your belly button here. And you can just imagine the inner smile, smiling to this place and imagining the energy trickling down. And then when you inhale again, you can bring it up your spine again. So this will really work to charge you energetically. And there's so much we could do with these things, but we're not going to get into that. But bringing the energy up with the breath is a huge tool for semen retention, and also just for making last longer. So the idea with this type of lovemaking is that you're not going from 0 to 10, 10 being orgasm. You're going from 0 up to 5, down to 2, up to 7, back to 5, and you're keeping it from going over the edge. So this is cool. And then, they're tuning with their body this whole time. They can practice when they're self-pleasuring also. What does this feel like? And the more familiar they are with this form of bodily control, the more efficient they'll be at it. So from there, they can also get to know their pelvic floor. Just like we do Kegels, men can do Kegels. It's like the feeling of starting and stopping pee. There's also a way of relaxing Kegels for men and for women, really, which is like the gentle sensation of pushing, like for a poop. And this is kind of just as important as the clenching for stopping a pee. So you can work with these muscles to get to know them. And then when the man's self-pleasuring, he can practice what it is to stop the muscles to contract them, like if you were going to stop the flow of pee. And this is a way to learn semen retention as well. So Mantak Chia is this precious old like Chinese man who teaches this stuff. He's the top teacher in the world on it. He has incredible free resources, books. I recommend the YouTube stuff because the books are pretty heady to get into and actually follow through. But with just these simple practices, you guys can start to play with this. It's incredibly powerful to be like, babe, I'm fertile, you know, don't finish inside me tonight. And to be with them in the practice of, okay, I see you getting like way too high. I'm grabbing your hair. I'm looking you in the eyes. I'm breathing with you. I'm saying breathe, you know, and guiding the energy as the, you know, wild feminine sex priestesses that we all are deep down. So yeah, this is an incredible way to cultivate trust, to cultivate connection, and to enhance your lovemaking. But it's what people have always been doing for contraception as well. And like I said, like you can get a drop of pre-cum with this or a drop of semen. And that's why if you're fertile, it's always good, even if your partner retains the semen, to use some of the cream, to use some neem oil. Or you can use what we'll get into next. So what we're going to get into next is nature's plan B. So my whole 20s, I've always thought in the back of my head, okay, if I slip up, I'll just use a plan B. And I think that that's the mentality that a lot of us have, that we know we have this tool available to us. And awesome that that's available. And a plan B is only effective if you haven't ovulated yet. So that means it's only effective if you haven't gotten pregnant yet. It's trying to move your ovulation back through a bomb of hormones, which, because everybody in my community and internationally come to me for all their slip ups, all their accidental pregnancies, all things like this, I know that when people use this, it throws them off for months with crazy periods and mood swings and all the things. So if we can avoid it, all the better, because we have a very effective tool that women have been using for thousands of years. So because the synthetic pharmaceutical plan B will only move your ovulation back, if you've already ovulated and might have a fertilized egg, it's not going to work. This is why the natural option is more effective and can be more applicable in more circumstances. Another thing with this is that if you didn't use anything because you were too excited and you went for it, a lot of times that's because you were ovulating. And so we want to have this tool in our arsenal, in our bag of tricks. So the tool is called Queen Anne's lace. It's a beautiful flower. A lot of times they put it in like rose bouquets, the little white flowers that go with them. A lot of times that's Queen Anne's lace. Or like wild carrot seed. So you can work with the plant itself. However, it looks a lot like poisonous hemlock, which if you get them confused, it can kill you. So I recommend just getting a tincture from a reputed herbalist. I'm going to put resources for this in the guide. But Queen Anne's lace, it's interesting because they say they don't know exactly how it works. It does affect your progesterone. So progesterone is the hormone that that raises after ovulation, and this hormone helps the egg to implant and stay implanted on the side of your uterus. So the Queen Anne's lace has to be used a lot like the Plan B, that it needs to be taken within 72 hours of a fertilizing event. So you might like just have this on hand just in case. A tincture that's kept in the dark can last you a really long time. So it's nice because if you do have a slip up, you don't want to have to be looking all over the world to find it, you know, especially if you live in Costa Rica like us. So it needs to be used within 72 hours of the event, ideally within 8 to 12 hours. So with your tincture, you're going to take 30 to 60 drops, 8 to 12 hours after the event, ideally. And then you're going to take it again 8 hours after that. And again, 8 hours after that, you take it with a little bit of water, ideally on an empty stomach. And so they say that they don't know if it's the introduction or the taking away of the Queen Anne's lace that makes it effective. So this is something to pay attention to, because when we're freaking out and we think we might be pregnant, we're like, just give me as much of the herb or the plant or the drug as, you know, I don't want to be pregnant. We're freaking out. And with Queen Anne's lace, it's imperative that you use it and stop using it. It will not be more effective if you keep using it. Quite the opposite. So this will be in the guide because you don't have to think that you have to remember every little detail like this. It's all for you to study and to really get to know. So the same case with this mentality around herbs is what we're going to take into the next part, which is wise women herbs. And these are herbs that women have been using forever to release unwanted pregnancy, to bring on a late period, to not get pregnant. So you might have missed the window for Queen Anne's lace, or you couldn't get it. You might have thought you got pregnant, and for a minute you were like, yes, and then you were like, actually, no, I know this isn't right for me. There's so many things that could happen. And the incredible thing is that we have very effective natural ways to deal with this. But this mentality around the plants, whereas we're freaking out because we might be pregnant and we want to take as much as possible, this is really not the way to work with plants. Because some of these plants are quite strong and they can hurt your liver, your kidneys, they can cause permanent damage to organs if you use too much for too long. So the exact doses again will be given to you, and just make sure you're not going crazy, because I've worked with people who wanted to combine 3 of them and did way too much and started having pain, and it can really be dangerous. And I didn't believe that before I'd seen people doing this and see, wow, yeah, it's affecting the body in a strong way. So with these plants, Susan Weed, who writes a book called Herbs for the Childbearing Year, which goes into this, she's one of the top voices in the world on this. She says, don't do it. She says, don't do it because it's only effective about 40% of the time. And also because not enough studies have been done for us to know if this is causing birth defects. If you try herbal abortion in the early stages of a pregnancy are when all the vital organs are developing. And so this is something to be really aware of. If you're going to attempt herbal abortion, you really should be willing to go through with it, with a medical one if you need to, because you don't know what's happened to the baby. Now, this is obviously a personal choice. I will say also, these things are best used before you even miss your period. If you think that you might be pregnant, you can easily bring on a period if you catch it in time. It takes around 6 days for a fertilized egg to implant. So it's not even implanted and growing in you for some days. And then it's not even deeply implanted and really growing. One thing that women, and what I didn't also realize about abortion, is that if you wait until around 2 months into your pregnancy, if you release a pregnancy, a teeny tiny little baby might come out. And this is what so many women don't know. And this can bring on trauma that can last a lifetime. This can really mess somebody up. And so while I support everybody's choices with this, because I know there's so many circumstances and we can never know where somebody else is at, I will just speak to the fact that I've accompanied so many women in birth and in their pregnancy journeys, and almost everybody, even if they wanted a pregnancy, has extreme moments of freaking out and feeling like, I don't want this, I don't want this, I don't fucking want this. And so just because you have that experience, that doesn't necessarily mean that ending your pregnancy is the right choice for you. Because I had that with my first daughter. I didn't deep down feel like I wanted to stay with her dad forever. I didn't feel ready to have a kid. We were about to move to Costa Rica with very little money and no plan. I'm like, what's going on? Um, and yet by divine grace, I decided to keep this pregnancy, and it's the best thing that's ever happened to me. And so many women will tell you the same. And so many women will tell you that their choice to end a pregnancy was also the right decision for them. So this is the mental and spiritual clarity. And if we find we're pregnant, it can be hard because so many emotions, so many fears around what your family will say. Is this the right person? Is it the right time? How are we going to afford this kid? All these things. But yeah, so, and time can go really quick during this time. You have to work still, you're doing whatever. It's the time to sit with yourself. Do not just keep running about your life. Sit down and face yourself. Sit down and face yourself and find within yourself if this is the baby you want to have or not. Because the longer your pregnancy goes, the harder it will be to release emotionally, physically, spiritually, all of it. So if you want to work with the plants, I recommend doing it before you even miss your period or right around a late period. You can use it later on. But that's just my recommendation, to protect and hold your heart and soul and body. So I could probably talk for the next 4 hours about all the plants that we could use for this. And the information is actually not that hard to find, although it's nice to have information about how to actually use them, not just, oh, you can use this plant. I will touch on a few of them. So you have the cohoshes. You have blue and black cohosh, which are awesome to take together. Black cohosh is ripening your cervix. So what that means is it softens your cervix to make it easier for your cervix to open and release your menstruation or a pregnancy. The blue cohosh is causing uterine contractions, so that's going to help to push your menstruation out or to push the pregnancy out. You can use these together. The black cohosh that's softening the cervix could also be used with dong quai for the same purposes. Dong quai is Chinese angelica, which is amazing for everything womb related. It's a wonderful tonic for women, but it can cause uterine contractions. But that's a pretty good combination that you can work with. Parsley is actually a great plant ally and very non-toxic. So you can drink parsley juice. You can make a suppository of fresh parsley and put one in you every 12 hours. You put the actual herb, you want to push it in so it's touching your cervix. When we work with plants, it's cool to not just pop them like we would a pill. It's really powerful to connect with the plant, to put your prayer, your intentions, speak out loud to it, and connect with them. This is how people have been working with plants forever, and you can too. Just because you're not a shaman or a medicine woman doesn't mean that the plants won't connect with you and hear your intention and your vibration and your prayer and honor it. So yeah, you can work with parsley. You can work with vitamin C in super high doses, which I'll give to you the doses. When you work with vitamin C, it's making the uterus too acidic to house a pregnancy. It also has what's called absorbic acid in it that helps with this process, but you must make sure not to use caffeine or nicotine if you're using vitamin C, because it will make it that your body doesn't absorb it. Mugwort is an incredible feminine ally. It's awesome for menstrual cramps. You can be taking teas of this. You just need a gentle tea of this. I love to grow mugwort. It's nice just to have, and you can use it, that way you always have something like this on hand. Rue or ruda in Spanish is a very ancient ally of women, and it's very strong for ending pregnancies. This one can be really hard on your organs, so you don't want to take too strong of rue. My teacher actually said that with intention, you can take 3 little leaves of this plant and put it under your tongue, and it can work. Which brings me to another point. My midwife teachers who have been working with releasing pregnancy for decades say that when you find out you're pregnant and you don't want to be, if you sit with your womb and you put your hands on your womb and you connect with your womb and you speak to it and you work with this intention over and over again, this releases pregnancy about 40% of the time. I have done this once in my life when I first got pregnant with my older daughter, and I was freaking out and I was speaking to my womb and commanding the pregnancy to leave and telling it I wasn't ready, and it poof, just disappeared. It just released without any other help. So the beauty is that as we connect with more with our body, it's not like calling a friend that you haven't talked to in 5 years and being like, yo, can I borrow some money? It's like, hey, bestie, it's me again. Can you help me out? And your body, it's like relationship. I really believe in this. And it's my experience, and it's the experience of so many of my sisters. And it's a beautiful invitation to all of us to have this best friendship with our body. So one of the most effective and non-toxic tools that you can use for this, and this is what I would recommend if you are serious about this, is cotton root bark. This is what the Native Americans used forever. This is also what the slaves used. And it can be quite hard to find because it's abortive. It works. The traditional way of using this plant was to make an infusion. So an infusion is different from a tea. When you're making a tea, you just put a little bit of the herb after the water's boiled, and that's your tea. An infusion, you take a whole ounce of the herb and you take a whole quart of boiling water. You pour the water over the herb or the plant, and you let it steep overnight in like a glass container, ideally, for like 6 to 8 hours. So this is making you a strong medicine. And this with cotton root bark would traditionally be sipped. The infusion would be sipped on for days until the pregnancy release was well on its way. So you keep drinking it even if you start bleeding, because it's helping to clear the womb of everything that needs to be cleared. You don't want to have basically a partial abortion. You want to keep it going. So once you're really passing tissue, if you need to pass tissue, um, or your little baby, if that's what you're choosing to do, like you want to see that things are really coming out, because retained tissue in this process can be very dangerous. It can cause infection, which can kill you. And you're working with herbs, so they're a little like less sure than maybe a pharmaceutical in this case. So this is important to know. So yeah, if I'm really serious about this, I'm using cotton root bark, 100%. I'm not even messing around with the other stuff. I'm using my intention first, if that doesn't work. And I'm doing it, as soon as my period's a day late or even sooner. So these are all awesome tools. And like I said, I could go on and on and on about all the different plants you can use, and it's super interesting, but that's really all you need. And I have a source that has this cotton root bark in pills that you just take for a few days, and that's the dose. So that'll again be in the guide. So if these things don't work for you and you want to safely end your pregnancy at home, you can use a pharmaceutical called misoprostol. The World Health Organization, who we're not saying that they're the authority, okay, but they say all around the world, this is safe if you need to have an at-home abortion. So this is causing extreme uterine contractions. You're basically going to need to go through a birthing process. You need to eat a bit before taking it and take ibuprofen before. You could also take arnica. But I would take ibuprofen before. Always take ibuprofen after you've eaten, and then you can take these pills. You may experience nausea, shaking, vomiting, and you will experience bleeding. A cool thing about these pills is that they're generally easy to get. Even if your state or wherever you are has outlawed abortion, you can get these online. There are women working to make these available to us and giving us instructions. So, if you tried an herbal abortion and it didn't work, or maybe you tried lots of different herbs and it didn't work, you may want to do this to make sure your baby doesn't have birth defects. Otherwise, you can always defer to your intuition and maybe checking with an ultrasound to see what you can find if you want to keep your pregnancy. I do have one experience that a friend of mine worked with black cohosh and dong quai, and it didn't work, and they decided to have the baby after all, and it's a super healthy, awesome baby. So follow your heart, but those are things to be aware of. So that's it, that's it. You can just use the cream, and it's highly effective, and you'll probably never need to use anything else. I love to know my fertility and use the cream for like a week, a month, and then be totally free. But it is really easy and discreet to use. You can just use neem oil. I'll also share in the guide a neem-based product that can be used also, same thing, but it's really nice. And so you find what works for you. A lot of people who are getting into natural birth control are using Queen Anne's lace all the time, like just around their ovulation. And I don't really recommend this. One, because you could be letting go of a fertilized egg every month and not even be aware of it. And it depends on what you believe or feel in your heart spiritually, but this is just like so unnecessary for me. It's like, why? And the implications of this are, maybe deeper than we understand. So I like to prevent pregnancy instead of taking care of it afterwards, but you always have these tools. So even if you're using condoms or you're using pills and they don't work, you have these tools. So yeah, that's my sharing, and I hope it serves you well. And I hope that you take this invitation to come to a beautiful space with your womb where you feel like, I love my womb and she loves me. I love my pussy and she loves me. I love my sexuality and she loves me. And that we can collectively let go of this tension we hold in our bodies when we're afraid of pregnancy that keeps us from the high holy levels of lovemaking, that we can let go of this state of being chemically altered, of our brains being altered, of our hormones, of our entire lives being altered, because we've been taught to outsource our birth control. Like there's no need for it anymore. And this empowerment brings us into our empowerment and who we are as a woman. And for me, has brought me back to the true expression of my essence in this world. And that's my prayer for you. If you're getting off birth control, that you look out, because your essence will return full force if you nurture her. I will share a few key things you can do if you're coming off birth control. It's very simple, but you can detox after birth control. Birth control is a pharmaceutical. A lot of it gets stuck in our liver after years of this work. So the first thing you're going to want to do is support your liver, which is very simple to do. You can drink lemon water or warm lemon water every morning. You can make yourself a magic shot of lemon juice with, I like to blend up some ginger, turmeric, little cayenne, and olive oil. This makes me feel amazing and it's cleansing for the liver. You can support yourself with dandelion root and teas and tinctures. But when we get off birth control, as we detox our liver, that's helping our body to process out the birth control and get rid of the estrogen dominance that can cause a lot of our imbalances. Citrus peels are phenomenal for getting rid of estrogen dominance. And so you can take citrus peels and put them in the blender with your smoothies and then strain them out, or make yourself a drink with it with the whole lemon and strain them out. But this can give you amazing properties that will really support your body. I would also say being in nature will help you to return to your nature. So getting lots of sunshine. My great uncles were natural healers, and one of their greatest devices was air baths. They have people be outside naked. And this is bringing you your chi back, your life force, which our mitochondria are dramatically affected by birth control. And these are like the power sources of our body that make all the processes in our body work. So when we get naked outside, when we get in the sunshine and really charge ourselves, we're rehabilitating our mitochondria. Birth control is also depleting minerals. So Shilajit is the best thing I know for getting your minerals. It's easy. You can find a ton of good sources online. And I will say that after I got off birth control, I had like this crazy brown spot that came on my face. So this is like a hormonal imbalance that a lot of women get during pregnancy, where they get like pregnancy mask, like this hyperpigmentation. And I got rid of that putting urine on my face, and I couldn't get rid of it for years. And I put urine for like 2 months, it went away completely. So if because of a hormonal imbalance, your face gets all these spots on it, if you're into it, you take the midstream of your urine and you wipe it on there a few times a day with like a washcloth or something, and it can totally get rid of that for you. So yeah, welcome back to your true essence. I'm so excited for your journey. You can always contact me. You can always contact me at wisewomanschoice@gmail if you need support on your birth control journey. I love to answer questions and support my sisters. So yeah, thank you, Katya, for this chance to share. I love you.
Wow, Lauren, deep bow to you, sister, and to an entire lineage of wise women. You come from a long line of healers, and I feel like our ancient grandmothers are speaking through you.
For sure, for sure. This is what's been lost, but women have always been carrying this. And it's my heart that through my life, through this work, that it would become common knowledge, and that you would teach your sisters and they would teach their daughters and they would teach their best friends. And that this would be like, we don't go past age 11 without knowing it, you know? So, so that's the journey for me. That's the exciting revolution for me.
I absolutely love the no bullshit kind of way that you delivered this masterclass. Just the way I imagine that you would speak in communities to young girls, to midwives. It's like, here's what you need to know. And this information can be so overwhelming, especially when there's so many herbs and so many precautions. And,
Yeah,
even
it's a
the
lot.
book on fertility awareness is like a freaking Bible that is so intimidating. Thank you so
Yeah.
much for making this so accessible. I took a ton of notes because I yeah, wanted to kind of bring in a couple of really important integration pieces for our sisters as they're completing this masterclass and this set of teachings with us. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I want to watch this class again because there's just so much there. So in terms of integration, the first thing I want to invite us all to do is to just move your body, shake. There are emotional release tools that are really important, like shaking our body. Even if you get, I'm sitting in a tub right now, but if you get up and literally jump and shake and let your jaw be loose and let your limbs um, shake as much as like a song song long, a few minutes at least, because there are stories that surely have come up for you listening to this. We all have stories of loss, of being put on birth control, often against our will, or not knowing the repercussions, stories of births and miscarriages and abortions, release, right? The full range, the full womb continuum. Can we be soft with ourselves in this moment? I know that I have felt a range of emotions from disappointment in myself to grief to rage around being, close to my just about to enter my 40s and not having a handle on so much of this. I do have four healthy, beautiful live babies, two spirit babies, one from a really traumatic miscarriage that almost took my life. So a lot of what you were sharing around just being so careful with release, right? And continuing to take if whether it's herbs or like even being ready to enter the medical system if you're still bleeding or if there's infection. There's just so much around that we don't know. And an abortion as well, when I was traveling through Europe and was working a lot and was not tracking my cycle. And yeah, I was like super horny and just not abstaining, right? And when exactly what you said happened, when
We've all been there.
all this wisdom that went out the window in a moment of passion, and then there was this again very traumatic experience that I went through. And so I just holding all of the women here with us. You are here now. Listen to this class again. I would also encourage you, listen with your sisters. Tell a girlfriend, like let's have a story sharing circle. Maybe just two of you or three of you or a few of you. Light a candle, gather in someone's kitchen or basement, and give each other space to share these stories, because that is the way that we can integrate and release the shame, the judgment, the trauma, the weight of our stories so that we can start anew. It's not too late. You're here now. Another really wonderful tool is to write your story, even if right now, when this class ends, put on a song, shake your body, dance it out, scream into a pillow, beat a pillow, right? Like go out in nature, be barefoot, whatever you can do, take a bath and write down what's coming up for you. Are there stories from your past that you have not shared? The first step could be just to write it down and then gather in a circle of sisters. Uh, yeah, so those are a couple of integration pieces. And thank you for being so generous with your time. I know that you also do one-on-one work, so women, in addition to just asking a quick question, if it's something bigger, you can also do like an hour integration session, I'm sure, a
Yeah,
paid session
absolutely.
with Lauren. And I do have a couple of quick questions for you that came up, because if they came up for me, maybe they will have come up for our sisters.
For
One
sure.
was around uh just like where to source a lot of the herbs. I know that being here in Costa Rica, there's been a couple times that I was looking at ordering Queen Anne's lace and I couldn't find anything. Obviously, this is not something that you can find on Amazon, but you do have some resources of where we can source the tinctures.
Yeah, in the guide that I'll provide, I have a whole shop of the best resources I found for Queen Anne's lace and for the cotton root bark, and they have a few other options as well. Um, and then what I also am going to share a resource for a really nice source of a neem-based birth control, and also where you can get the cream, the Wise Woman's Choice. And I'll be, excuse me, I'll be including a really nice coupon code for everybody who came to this or who hung out with us for the Dirty Gold. Um, so yeah, we'd love for you guys to check it out. And there's one other thing that I kind of ADD'd out while I was speaking is about simplifying the fertility awareness method, because we can think, oh, we have to do the temperature and all these things. It's so much. I'm not going to keep up with it. And especially when I was younger, I don't think I would have been able to keep up with it. And I've been doing it for 11 years and I've never been good at being consistent with the temperature. So all that to say, you can practice this entire method just using your cervix and your cervical fluid. You just need to be extra conservative during this fertile window and during your dry days to make sure that they're actually dry. and to make sure you're using something that's effective if you're not abstaining. So I will say that it can work just as well for you. You just have to be extra conservative and paying attention. But you can skip the temperature if you wish, if that's how you would, you know, be more likely to actually do it, then that's how I've always done it.
Amazing. I love that. And the last question I have is around the cervix, this miracle that's
Oh,
inside, right? So I've tried, actually, since the last birth control class that you taught for Matriarch Collective years ago. And like, I can't, is it my fingers that are too short? Like, I can't seem to reach far enough.
really?
Yeah, like d depending when I'm menstruating, yes, I can feel her, but she just seems so far.
Wow.
I
Yeah. I
can't feel
mean,
her.
every yoni is so different. It's insane, right? It's insane the variety we have. And so like obviously like some women will have a longer vaginal canal, some women will have a tighter one, a wider one, and it's all amazing, but that's really interesting. If you can't actually reach your cervix, you're going to be relying on the fluid that you find. So that it's simple as that. But if you can touch it when it's low around menstruation and then you can't touch it, you know that it's gone higher, right? So
Right.
you can be like, check, it's high. I don't know how soft it is yet, but I know that it's going up to open the door for me.
For sure, for
So you can
sure.
be aware of it in that way.
Do you have one of your creams like right around your table there somewhere? Can
Can
you
I go
ask
grab it? Give me
Roy
a
to
second. I'll be
come?
right back.
Yes, yes, yes. Okay, I want you all to see what this cream looks like. I keep mine in the fridge. Well, I haven't needed it for many months, but it's so easy to use. The only thing is if you are enjoying oral pleasure, do that before you put the cream on because it doesn't taste very good, but it is a really easy to use and really wonderful.
Okay. Yeah, I was so prepared. Um, so this is Wise Woman's Choice. Um, it's an all natural cream. And when you're using it, I can show you here. A good dose. I think this is mine. I've been using it. So like you can use about this much cream and be over 99% protected from unwanted pregnancy completely naturally. This is the cream. This is the beauty. We
Amazing.
have we have some smaller sizes available in Costa Rica, and so I think some samples we may be giving away with you. And yeah, this it's pretty life-changing. You know, me and all my friends have been using it for years and like listen to Dirty Gold about Katya's experience, but yeah, check it out.
Yeah, so there is a generous affiliate code for anyone wanting to try it. Oh, my screen just went dark. I'm like, are you still there? But it's the sun changing. Yes, thank you so much for all of this. Thank you so, so much. I love
Thank
you
you,
with
my
all
love.
my heart.
Me too.
Just deepest gratitude to you, sister.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.